Hey everybody, it's the Tony Viz. I'm back. Here I am with my Raw recap. Sorry, it's up. I'm doing this today instead of yesterday, but yesterday I couldn't get around to it. Sorry about that. So here I'm just gonna recap Raw. Overall, I thought this show was really weak. I thought it was weak because I just thought 3 hours is just too long. The show was just like I said, 3 hours is just too long. The show seemed to drag on forever. What we had on the show was we had a really awesome Paul Heyman promo at the start of the show. We had a good Shawn Michaels interview. We had a good Jericho Dolph match, but Dolph got made to look like a jabron again. We had a Cena Punk promo at the end of the show that was good, but by the time the end of the show came, I was just like, okay, this is enough already. And we had Orton Del Rio. We had a 6-man tag. And oh my god, a meaningless Divas Battle Royale, and we had Orton vs. Del Rio, and we had way too much AJ on the show. So let's get right into this. Oh, we also had the return of David Otunga, coffee mug and all. Okay, so the show started with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar coming to the ring. Heyman says that he understands how the fans feel because last night when Lesnar, at SummerSlam, when Lesnar fought Triple H, it was really one of the most uncomfortable matches to watch. He said that and then Heyman mentions that that 11 years ago, and I remember this, May 2001, he sat over at the announce table and watched Triple H tear his quad, and it was during a tag match. I remember that, and he was saying that Triple H managed to finish that fight despite the torn quad, and he was saying that a torn quad couldn't stop Triple H, but Brock Lesnar could. And Heyman says that Lesnar made Triple H tap at SummerSlam, and he says that he made and because he made Triple H tap, that means that Brock Lesnar made Hunter, Triple H, whatever you want to call him, quit on his family, his company, his friends, fans, and pretty much everybody on all of WWE pretty much. And then Heyman says Brock Lesnar made Triple H suffer, forced him to the canvas, and just left him a beaten, battered shell of a former man. And Heyman says that he doesn't feel sorry for Triple H, and the fans shouldn't feel sorry for him either, because Heyman said that this was a fight that Triple H picked, and he told the referee Scott Armstrong during the YouTube pre-show for SummerSlam that he wanted this to be a fight to the finish. Throw out the countouts, throw out the DQs, a fight to a positive finish. And then Heyman said it was a fight to a positive finish, all right, but it wasn't the finish Triple H wanted. And so then Paul Heyman asks Scott Armstrong to come to the ring because Brock Lesnar wants to talk to him. So then the referee doesn't come out right away. So then Paul Heyman says, "Mr. Arm, you're being paged by Brock Lesnar or whatever," and eventually Scott Armstrong comes out. Heyman says, Lesnar wants to speak to him. Scott Armstrong reluctantly gets in the ring, and Heyman says that he just mentions that what Triple H told Scott Armstrong, that the match was going to be a fight to the finish and everything. And Heyman said that at SummerSlam, Brock had 2 words for Triple H, and that was tap out. Well, tonight Heyman tells Scott Armstrong that Brock Lesnar has 2 words for him. So then, kind of like really creepy, it's like Lesnar goes up to him and pats him on the head, and says, "Good job." And then Heyman says that because he beat Triple H, Brock Lesnar is the new King of Kings and conqueror of the WWE Universe and the master of the Brocktagon. And what that means is that the fans are now the loyal subjects to the new Lord and Master of the WWE, his client, Brock Lesnar. Awesome promo, great way to start the show. Paul Heyman is the promo king. That guy is amazing. Great way to start the show. Too bad the rest of it wasn't as good. So then we go to a CM Punk tout, and he says that since he had to defend his title twice at SummerSlam, he'll be allowed to pick his opponent for Night of Champions later on. So then, that's another thing we had in here. The tweets, the touts, the social medias, the WWE.com interviews, the this, the that, all this shit's got to... They're overdoing it. it's like, oh, we got a tap from this one, a tweet from this one. It's like, who gives a rat's ass? I'm tired of all this social media shit. You're going overboard. So, and the first of many, we have WWE.com interview with Kofi Kingston. He and R-Truth beat the Primetime Players again to retain the tag titles at SummerSlam. So then Kofi talked about what a great, what great title defense it was, and then in comes R-Truth with a container of Gatorade, and he pulls it on the floor, of course, thinking it's Little Jimmy. Can they ditch Little Jimmy? Can they just, it's like, I also hate when Jerry Lawler is like, yeah, hey, Little Jimmy, he's right there. It's like, if you're gonna have Little Jimmy be real, just hire some kid and just hire some kid and have him wear the Little Jimmy shirt. If you're gonna continue with this crap. So then we get six-man tag champs, R-Truth and Kofi Kingston, who come out with a couple of brawling buddies. They're teaming up with Sin Cara. They're taking on millions of dollars, well, maybe not millions of dollars, Primetime Players and Cody Rhodes, who's still obsessed with unmasking Sin Cara, which is also stupid. Solid six-man tag match. Truth, Kofi, and Sin Cara won. Cara got the pin on Cody Rhodes. Cody, of course, again, attempted to pull off Sin Cara's mask, and that led to Sin Cara pinning him 1, 2, 3 the end. Solid match, there was some good stuff in there, but it was the faces won, and the whole thing with Cody obsessed with unmasking Sin Cara, it's just like I don't know what the fuck they're doing with that. So then we get with Matt Striker. He's about to interview AJ Lee in her first of too many segments of the night. And in comes the returning David Otunga, coffee mug and all, and he says that since AJ might need some Harvard-educated legal counsel, and he says that he'll file a lawsuit in the blink of an eye if anyone calls her crazy. And anytime they're doing this bit, anytime someone says the word crazy and AJ hears it, she flips. So then she flips out from hearing the word crazy, and David Otunga saying he wants to offer her his services, and she tells him that he can offer his services in the ring tonight against an opponent of her choosing. Okay. Then Striker mentions CM Punk's tout about being and AJ says that she likes that she liked it, and that Punk she says that Punk can choose whoever he wants with her approval. And then she skips off. This wasn't much. I mean, it wasn't much. The AJ character is officially in overkill mode. In typical Vince WWE booking, they have a character that's really over, and the fans love, and they're like, okay, this is great. Now we gotta tweak it and do some stupid crap to it, and then it's like, and then cram it down people's throats over and over again, and make it pretty much not the character that she was. It's like she came out, she was this little, it's like this cute little, this cute chick who came out, all happy and perky and everything, and she was like, oh yeah, and then she's like, now she's in a freaking power suit and is the GM, and she's all over the place. Whatever. So then we get to Ryback squashing two jabrones. He did squash him. He didn't win. What happened was Ryback actually beat two dudes named Andy Tavares and Mike Spinner by DQ. Jinder Mahal came in and attacked Ryback from behind, and then Mahal locked Ryback in the camel clutch. Ryback powered out and just nails a stunner on Jinder. So then Jinder rolls out of the ring, runs up the ramp, because all heels have to be puss bags in WWE. So then Ryback picks up the two jobbers, and he gives them the arching double Samoan drop. Boom. Then Ryback and Jinder just jaw jack. Ryback's on the ring, and Jinder's on the stage, and then just jaw jacking. Pointless segment. And the Feed Me More stuff was not over in Fresno. So then we get to Chris Jericho and Dolph Ziggler. Chris Jericho's backstage. Dolph Ziggler comes by, and he says that Jericho finally won the big one because Jericho beat Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. And then, Dolph says that Jericho finally won the big one, but he says they need to have a rematch later on in the show. So Jericho says he wants to, Jericho says he knows how to win the big one with this Dolph. And of course, in WWE, typical WWE way, of course, Dolph doesn't know how to win the big one because it's. So then AJ skips in again, and then she says that it. And then she said, okay, I will have a rematch, but we're gonna up the ante a bit here. If Jericho loses, his contract is terminated. If Dolph loses, Chris Jericho gets his Money in the Bank briefcase. Weird segment. And once again, they're showing that Dolph can't win a match. And like I said, they're clamming AJ down our throats to the point where we just want to throw it the fuck up. And they gave us a rematch on free TV the night after a Big 4 pay-per-view. It's like you have the match on pay-per-view, and then the next night you give it to us again. Way to go, WWE, you So then I get Del Rio walking backstage, and he's screaming at Ricardo when he knocks a phone out of his hand or whatever. I don't know. Del Rio's all pissed at Ricardo or whatever. So then Del Rio comes out, and he said that he should be standing in front of all the peasants as the new world champion. And he says last night at SummerSlam, the referee and Sheamus robbed him of the title. Because what happened was that Sheamus got him at SummerSlam. Sheamus pinned Del Rio, got 3 count. 1, 2, and then Del Rio got his foot on the rope. Ref didn't see it. 3, and then Sheamus took Del Rio's foot off the rope. So, and they actually show a still shot on the Tron of Del Rio's foot on the rope. That match was actually good, but that finish was so freaking cheap. So then Del Rio says he's not going to stand around. He isn't going to stand around and not do anything about it. He says he demands another world title match with Sheamus right now. And then AJ comes out again. This is because she hadn't been out in front of the fans yet. So she comes out, and she says she has no control over the world title scene because that's the SmackDown belt, and that's Booker T's under his control or whatever. But she can put him in a match right now since he's all dressed to wrestle. He's in his ring gear. And she says that his match next will give Booker T something to consider as to whether or not Del Rio gets a world title rematch. So then she says, say hello to this man. And no, it wasn't the bad guy Razor Ramon. It was the man who, his voice is in his head, Randy Orton, who's going to be going off to do a movie soon. So, that awful segment. Like I say, I'll say it before, I said it before, I'll say it again. Way too much AJ on the show. And also, they even said that the referee for the Sheamus Del Rio match at SummerSlam admitted that he messed up and made a bad call. So why the hell does Del Rio have to have a match on Raw just so Booker can decide if Del Rio gets another world title match? What the hell are they doing here? So then they go to a commercial, they come back from that. Before the Orton Del Rio match starts, Sheamus comes out to do commentary. Okay. So then we get Randy Orton versus Alberto Del Rio. Orton wins. Solid match, but I just thought this was a little overbooked here. Ricardo got on the apron, and Sheamus took the headset off and just ran Ricardo off. Then Sheamus was standing at ringside, and Orton and Sheamus looked at each other. Then Del Rio gave Orton a backstabber, and Del Rio went for the pin. And either Orton got his foot on the rope or Sheamus draped it on the rope at 2. So the ref saw that. And then, Sheamus interfering and everything, that distracted Del Rio. And then Orton RKO Del Rio, 1, 2, 3. Like I say, solid match, but I don't know why the hell they're having Del Rio lose and to a guy who had a 2-month layoff and is going to be leaving again to make another movie or whatever. Like I said, solid match, but a little overbooked. Then they got a WWE.com interview from CM Punk. These were all like backstage from SummerSlam, WWE.com exclusives, which are not really exclusives if you're airing them on the shows. Punk says that there wasn't any controversy to the title match. He said that there wasn't any controversy with the finish or whatever. The controversy was that he had to beat someone twice. He said that he made Big Show tap out, but then he had to beat him again. And Punk pretty much says that that happened because AJ doesn't want him to be champion, and he says he's been champion for 9 months, and whether fans like it or not, everyone needs to respect him. It was good. I thought it was okay promo, but this WWE, it's like all this WWE.com interview stuff is just like, and then everything that we're doing is just like, oh hey, look at how interactive we are with the social media and this and that. It's just like, oh please, get the rest. So. Then they show a tap from Antonio Cesaro and Oksana celebrating his U.S. title win just right after he beat Santino on the SummerSlam YouTube pre-show. Then they show a video package of the SummerSlam Fan Fest. Boring. Then Brodus Clay comes out, does his stupid bit. Then they reshow Damien Sandow attacking Brodus' leg from a couple of weeks ago. So then we get Brodus Clay versus Damien Sandow. Not much of a match. Brodus dominated most of it. Missed a big splash in the corner. Sandow rolled him up, hooked the tights, got the 3 count. But then afterwards, Brodus gives Sandow a T-bone suplex, big splash. Brodus does a stupid bit, brings the Funkadactyls and kids in the ring, and a lot of idiotic crap there. So once again, like I say, Sandow beats Brodus, but he gets buried because, like I say, all the heels have to have, it's like all the heels have to have no heat. I don't know if it's because WWE is like, oh yeah, we're making the kids now, so the good guys can't lose because otherwise the kids might go whatever. It's like, I'll get into that later about losing, the faces losing and stuff like that. So then they show Shawn Michaels, I don't know, at his ranch or whatever. I don't know where he really was, whatever. He's got his arm in a cast, and we'll hear from him next. So we get commercial time, back from the break. Time to hear from Shawn Michaels. Michael Cole asks Shawn Michaels for his thoughts on Triple H's career possibly being over. Michael says that he thinks he knows what's going through Triple H's head right now. He says that, Michael says that you can prepare for the end of your career. You can say that you're nearing the end of it. You're nearing the end. You can do everything that people say you should do, but there's really nothing that prepares you for the day when it just comes right at you, hits you in the face, and it's like, okay, yeah, your career is done. Bam. And he says that, that it happens, it's like, it's like in the mind, it's like it happens, on your own, you're by yourself or whatever. And then Michael says that in reality, it happens, the careers end in front of thousands of people and millions watching on pay-per-view. I don't know if there were millions watching on pay-per-view, but anyway, so then Shawn says that he knows what Triple H is feeling, and that Sunday night could have been the end of a great career. And he says that Triple H is a man of honor and integrity, something that Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman wouldn't know about. So he said that Triple H gave it his all against Brock because that's the kind of guy Triple H is. And Michael says that, himself being around was possibly a distraction and a burden for Triple H, so he was kind of blaming himself that Triple H lost. And then he mentions, it's like he told Hunter that Shawn mentions that he told Triple H that he knew where his heart was, but he never told him the truth, which was that Michaels didn't think Triple H could beat Brock Lesnar, which actually he kind of, he might not have come right out and said it, but when he said Brock's on another level from Undertaker and him, that's kind of implying that, yeah, it's kind of like saying, yeah, hey homie, you can't beat this guy. But whatever. So then Michael says that it's not easy to look your friend in the eye and tell him that you think his career, it's over, his career over, and time's run its course and stuff. And then Michael says that Triple H has nothing to be ashamed of and is one of the greatest superstars to ever live. Of course, because of course we have to get the McMahon, we have to get the McMahon put over. One of the greatest superstars to ever live because he married into the McMahon family. I'm not knocking Triple H's in-ring ability, but one of the greatest ever. I don't think so. So then Michaels says that he'll always respect and will always love Triple H and blah blah blah, and so the fans or whatever. So then he says, on behalf of the fans, blah blah, to Triple H, thank you for a job well done. It was a good promo actually. I thought Michaels did a really good job in selling the possibility of Triple H's career being done, even though we know it. It's like that's what they're hinting at, but it's not done. So I don't know if they're going to do a rematch at Survivor Series or whatever with Triple H and Brock. I don't know what they're going to do. So then David Otunga comes out for his squash. Big Show squashes him. That was it. Just knockout punch, 1, 2, 3 at the end. Then the show, WWE.com interview, another one. We had way too many of these on the show, I thought. The show one was Big Show, and Big Show was all pissed off about the title match, the WWE title match. He says it wasn't a triple threat match, it was a handicap match because both Cena and Punk were double teaming him. He was saying, and Big Show asked, he said, it's like Cena, Punk, and this guy and that guy have all gotten one-on-one title matches. When is it going to be his turn to get a one-on-one title shot? Not a bad promo. Then we have the what the hell are these guys doing teaming up together? Kane and Zack Ryder against Daniel Bryan and The Miz. This was horrible. The match ended pretty much in a no finish because it's like, of course, Kane and Zack Ryder. Kane beat the crap out of Zack Ryder earlier in the year, and Miz and Daniel Bryan. Of course, Miz was Daniel Bryan's coach on the first season of NXT, and they had friction and whatever. But they've teamed up ever since Daniel Bryan turned heel. So that, you know, even Michael Cole mentioned, it's like, hey, yeah, Kane and Zack Ryder, they got some history going back, because Kane, pretty much beat the crap out of Zack Ryder earlier in the year. So it's like, I don't know why the hell I had them team up. So what happened was, like Miz and Daniel Bryan were like, there was like friction there or whatever. Daniel Bryan goes to tag Miz or whatever, because I think, Daniel Bryan was just constantly tagging out every time Kane was in there, I think. And then, eventually Daniel Bryan went to tag Miz. Miz just walked out. Then Daniel Bryan hopped over the barrier and ran like hell away from Kane through the crowd. So with both Daniel Bryan and Miz not there, Kane decides to chokeslam Mr. Woo 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 himself, Zack Ryder. And they made Zack Ryder look like a big pushback again. It's like the guy, and then Kane takes the timekeeper, throws him into the barrier, and then for good measure on Ryder, Kane gets back in the ring, gives Ryder a tombstone. So, it's like what the hell? The whole thing didn't make sense. It's like the whole thing, and then they're still doing the whole, hey Zack, you got yourself over, but we didn't really mean it, so now we're gonna have to make it look like a fucking pushbag. Jeez, this company is so fucked up. Then there's another WWE.com exclusive interview with John Cena. The camera guy asks him if Punk's the best in the world. Cena, this didn't really make sense to me. He says he hasn't seen anything like this during his time in WWE. He doesn't blame the fans, or not the fans, I'm sorry. He doesn't blame the referee for what happened. And he says he'll get Punk tomorrow, later on, which will be later on in the show. Anyway, let me just, for those who didn't see SummerSlam, what happened was, during the WWE title match, CM Punk and Cena both had Big Show in the submission at the same time. Big Show tapped out. Bell rang, and then there was controversy over who won the match. And AJ came out, and even Punk said, Punk said, "Hey, let the fans decide," because they were solid clearly behind Punk. And then after a while, AJ was just, and then she just goes, "Restart the match," and then Cena eventually gets Big Show up for the AA. Punk chucks Cena out of the ring and steals the pin. 1, 2, 3. So that was what happened at SummerSlam. Then Matt Striker interviews CM Punk. Punk says that he's still champion, but now the next question is who will his next challenger be? And he thanks AJ for letting him pick his opponent. And he's going to pick everyone that the fans love. And then of course is Mr. You Can't See Me Fruity Pebble John Cena. And so he pretty much says that he commands respect when he walks into a room, and tonight or on the show he'll demand respect from Cena. A solid promo from Punk there. The guy's good. Then we get to the meaningless, awful Divas Battle Royal. First, Kelly was not there, and neither was Beth Phoenix because of a recent. I just read because of a recent loss in the family, so she wasn't at the show. So hope she and the family are doing all right during this time. But we get to this Divas Battle Royal. The winner, of course, challenges Divas champion Layla. The belt doesn't mean anything. Layla's sitting there watching the ringside. And in the Battle Royal, we got Eve, Natalya, Tamina, Alicia Fox, Rosa Mendez, Oksana, and Caitlyn. And it came down to Caitlyn and Eve, and surprisingly, Caitlyn won. What happened at the end came, it's like Caitlyn was going to clothesline Eve over the top, but it botched. It didn't work the first time, so they went for the second time, and then Eve just flipped over, and that was it. Not really much, Then Layla was like, Layla and Caitlyn just looked at each other a little bit, I think, and and then it was just a totally meaningless and terrible match. And like I said, I was surprised Caitlyn won, but I don't know. Will WWE even remember that they had this? Because the Divas division doesn't mean crap. Then they have a Brock Lesnar tout, and he says that there's nothing left for him to conquer, and he says he's leaving WWE and is never coming back. Like I said, actually, because they only signed him to appear to make 30 appearances, so I think he's going to be out for a while. So this was the way of writing him out, So it's like the king, it's like the new King of Kings conquered. He conquered everything. He conquered WWE, and now he's walking out. Or as Richard Triumphant says, the king abdicated his throne. Then they show another Wade Barrett video package hyping up his return. Those have been really well done. Hopefully his return, when they have him return, they'll actually have him be a credible heel, and speaking of heels that are not really booked to be too credible, we get Vicky Guerrero backstage, and she tells Dolph Ziggler that she needs to manage a world champion, and that Dolph needs to beat Jericho tonight for her. And Dolph is like, "Oh, wait a minute, he's got to win this. He's got to win this for him." And because he's saying if he loses the Money in the Bank case, he'll never get another shot at the world title. So he says this is the biggest match of his life, and Vicky just keeps screaming that they have to win. And then Dolph says they will win. I thought this was weak. So then we get to Jericho versus Ziggler. This was actually a really good back and forth match. Jericho got a top rope Rana on Ziggler, which is a really impressive spot. But eventually, like I said, Dolph Ziggler got the pin 1, 2, 3 at the end. He got the 3 count. It was a great match, but like I said, I knew Dolph would win because Jericho is going to be going on tour with with his Fozzy band. So this was his swan song for now. But no, they can't let Dolph have the moment because afterwards, Jericho snatches the Money in the Bank briefcase and bashes Dolph with it. He bashes Dolph with it, and then for good measure, gave Dolph Ziggler a code breaker. So Dolph Ziggler wins, but they still bury him. The guy who's got the Money in the Bank and is supposed to be challenging for the title. This company is so screwed up. Oh man, just so screwed up. So then CM Punk comes out, and he goes to he comes out to the ring. He goes to the announce table, and he says it's all Lawler sitting there, and he says after defending his title at SummerSlam, he's going to talk about his next opponent. But then he remembered that Lawler said that Punk turned his back on the fans, and Punk tells Lawler to admit that wasn't true, and that he was just that he just blatantly out not lied about it. So Lawler says that at the time he thought Punk had turned his back on the fans. Punk tells him to have the respect to apologize to him to his face, and then John Cena comes out, Super Cena. So then Punk gets back in the ring, and Punk and Cena have a good long. I mean, this was like at the end of the show, and it was like almost 3 hours worth of stuff here. So they had a very long back and forth promo here. Punk pretty much said that Cena heard him say earlier in the night that he was going to call him out. Punk was going to call Cena out, but Cena, of course, had to come out and steal the spotlight from Punk again. And so that Punk says that since WrestleMania and whatever, he's been taking a backseat to Cena, Triple H, and to Dwayne. And he says he's been taking a backseat to out of respect. And he says that respect is a two-way street. And he says that he's the champ. He is the WWE champion. And he says every time he goes to the airports or wherever, fans meet him, wherever he run into him, wherever, they ask him how come he's not in the main event all the time. Punk says his match is always the main event, no matter where he is on the card. And he says that out of respect, he always lets Cena be the last match on the shows. So then Punk mentions how last year at Money in the Bank and SummerSlam he beat Cena both those shows, and he mentioned that he won in the triple threat match with Cena at SummerSlam on Sunday night. And Punk says he'll beat Cena again, and he says that Punk says it's like I said, he mentions it's like everywhere he goes he sees the C Nation, and then he says and then CM Punk says that Cena can challenge him for the title at Night of Champions if Cena admits that CM Punk is the best in the world. So then Cena says that Punk has been champion for 9 months, which means that's how long he hasn't been champion. And then Cena, pretty much says that through all the ups and downs, their relationship has been built out of one word, not champion, but the word that Punk has been harping on for the last few weeks. That he's been mentioning, of course, that word respect. And Cena says that it's like he mentioned at Fresno or whatever. It's like if their team loses or whatever, they're loyal to the fans are loyal to their team or whatever. And Cena says that his merchandise represents who he is. And Cena pretty much says that he's not going to call Punk the best in the world, because Cena has to believe that he himself is. He said that he believes in the fans and wants the fans to believe in him. He mentions that he believed he'd beat The Rock. He didn't think for a moment he'd lose that match, and he said he believes he'd beat The Rock if he gets to face him again. Which, please don't give us Rock Cena number 2. So then Cena says he's been champion for 380 days and never demanded anything from anyone. And, Cena says the Punk has been champion for 274 days, and all the fans remember is that when CM Punk beat him at Money in the Bank last year, Punk blew a kiss to Vince and left town and was on his way out. I think we remember more about Punk being champion than that. So then Cena says he's not out here to stroke CM Punk's ego, and Cena says that Punk can pick whoever he wants to defend the title against the Night of Champions, but he says it won't be him because he's not going to call CM Punk the best in the world. So Cena says, he mentions that Night of Champions is going to be in Cena's hometown of Boston. And then Cena says that if Punk beats Cena in Boston, Cena's hometown, then that will defy Punk's existence and make his career or whatever. And Cena tells Punk not to demand respect from the fans, and then he says that if Punk doesn't pick Cena to defend the title against the Night of Champions, then Punk has no respect for either himself or for the WWE title. And then Cena just walked up the ramp, and then Punk turned back to Lawler. Before it was so rudely interrupted when Cena came out. He turned back to Lawler, and he told Lawler to come in the ring and apologize to Punk. So Lawler got in the ring, and Punk says that Lawler went a bit too far and owes Punk an apology. Lawler says it was a misunderstanding, and he apologizes if that's what CM Punk wants. And Punk says he's not done yet, and he says, he tells Jerry Lawler, and I was like, he tells Jerry Lawler that he's the minister of propaganda, and the fans will believe everything he says. So that if Cena won't say that CM Punk is the best in the world, then he wants Jerry Lawler to say that he is. So Lawler says, it's like he spent a lot of years at the announce table doing commentary, and Punk tells him to tell the fans what they know. And Punk again tells Lawler to say that CM Punk is the best in the world, and Lawler says he can't say it. So then Lawler was turning back. He was going to go back out to the announce table. Shows him it's over, and then boom, Punk gives Lawler a roundhouse kick right in the back of the head. So then Punk gets his belt. He kneels over Jerry Lawler and just kneeling, squatting over the unconscious Jerry Lawler, and he was just looking around at the fans in the arena, and that ended the show. I thought the segment was good, but it was really long. I thought, like I said, Punk's promo, despite Punk's promo being really good, and even Cena being okay here too, I just thought the segment was really long-winded. It's like having this long-winded segment at the end of a 3+ hour show was just too much. So Cena said, so obviously the main event for Night of Champions is going to be Cena versus Punk in Cena's hometown for the title, with Punk defending, as it's doing the opposite from last year, where Cena defended the title in Punk's hometown, Chicago, last July. So with that being said, this was, like I say, as far as these 3-hour shows go, they're too long. The social media, the touts, the tweets, and all that bullcrap. It's just too much. So, like I said, I thought the show was really weak overall, just because it was too long. It just seemed to drag on. Heyman's promo at the start of the show was probably the highlight of it. Of the show. So the start of the show was great, and the rest of it was downhill from there. So then Jericho, the Jericho Dolph match was good too, but I hated that they had Jericho lay out Dolph Ziggler. They always have to. It's like, no heel can be credible. It's like, we gotta have the big guy always get the upper hand, and then boom, it's like Dolph Ziggler's always getting buried. It's like, okay, yeah, we want him. Okay, it's like they never get. They're always telling the fans, okay, don't care about this guy. This guy doesn't matter. We're gonna make this guy look like a jabron, whatever. And it's like, then they want to push him and have the fans get behind them. The fans don't get behind him. It's like, how come the fans aren't taking him seriously like we want to? Oh yeah, that's right, because we told them that they don't mean shit before. So I was like, and of course, there goes my phone. Cena can never, of course, Cena can never lose because of whatever, because he's Super Cena and because of the Mattel deal or whatever. I don't know if it's got anything to do with Linda running for Senate or whatever. But what the fuck? I don't know. And my phone was ringing. So on the whole, I thought that this show really dragged on a lot. Sorry about that. My phone was ringing and machine took it. So on the whole, like I say, I thought that the show was too long. It dragged on. 3 hours is just too much. So, and like I say, no heel that's not a giant can be a credible heel. They all have to be puss bags and head for the hills. I mean, Punk isn't really at that right now yet, but I won't be surprised if they do that with him. And like I say, the babyface has got to, like I said, it's always got to. The babyface has to lose sometime. Has to lose. This way, the fans will want to see him get his heat back on the heel who beat the crap out of him. Because like I said, with Cena, the guy, you never feel a sense of loss with his character. It's all just, hey, I'm going to come out and make little kiddie jokes and do this and that, and it's like, it's like the guy loses his title, and this and that, and I've gone on about that before, it's like how, it's like the guy could freaking have his arm cut off, and he'd be like, hey, come on, just because you market the kids doesn't mean you have to have the baby faces win all the time and bore the living hell out of everyone with the pathetically predictable booking here. Terrible. So, like I said, that was Raw. It was too long. It dragged on. So that'll do it for me for right now. I'll be back on Friday with my Impact recap, and hopefully with SmackDown 2. I'll do the usual Friday doubleheader. So anyway, you can check my in-depth recap out at TonyViz.blogspot.com, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a comment, leave some feedback and everything, and so to those of you who have shared videos, I had me as contacts and everything, and thanks a lot again. I greatly appreciate it. And so that'll do it for me right now. So till Friday when I'm back with my Impact recap, and hopefully I'll be back with SmackDown 1-2 Friday. This is Tony Viz the Tone signing off. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care, everybody.